ሰባት መላ
One of the most challenging but also the most exciting requirement of any social and behavioral change project is for the technical people and the creative people to work hand in hand if they want to see results. In Ethiopia, our Alive and Thrive program was interested in improving child nutrition, particularly complementary feeding practices for children 6 to 24 months of age. We had good nutritionists and social scientists on our team, but we needed a good radio company. We decided to use radio as our main channel for communication. So we hired Zellerman Communication, Advertising and Production in Addis Ababa.
አደነቅም እንዲህ ደሞ ልጅሽ 6 ወር ሞልቷታል። በወተትና በእንቁላል የታሸገ ገንፎ በየቀኑ በደንብ ታበያታለሽ። ልጅሽንም በፍቅርና በትዕግስት እያጫወትሽ ገንፎንም ወዲያው እንድትለምደው አድርጊ።
Overall, there was about 4 people from Zellerman team, 2 or 3 people from Alive and Thrive Ethiopia team, 2 or 3 people from Alive and Thrive DC team. So there's a lot of people working on this project and a lot of messages that need to be communicated. The constraint of having limited time for one episode. And so it's quite a complex project.
Drama is, a traditional type of, communication tool. So the drama also used, it has entertaining and it has, it promotes the message. So Alive and Thrive use, the radio drama, identifying based on the formative study, the gaps and so on. So Alive and Thrive promoted through the radio drama those behaviors we wanted to influence.
The radio drama should be entertaining to capture the attention or the interest of our audience, and at the same time also to address all the key messages.
We had specific practices we wanted to promote. When we advertised for a film, we wrote a short creative brief that described our objectives, our target audiences, as well as the messages we wanted to promote, and the radio format. We had the idea that our project team would work very closely with the firm's creative team during the entire process, but of course that was not possible. And we did hit some bumps along the road. But we found ways to work together, and we developed tools to help us stay on track. I would say our collaboration took place in 4 phases. First, we shared our background, our formative research about child feeding practices with the creative team. We explained the key actions we wanted to promote, our target group, and also people who can influence what they do, the obstacles people face, as well as the motivators that can help them change, and finally, our actual messages for each group.
So for complementary feeding also, we have to focus on those small key, behaviors. For example, the mothers could prepare the porridge from different grains. So on that, if we specify just add an egg or add a milk or add, minced vegetables, these are key behaviors that are doable.
The primary audience of radio program is mothers with children between 6 months and 2 years old. But we also wanted to reach fathers, grandmothers, aunts, health extension workers, even priests. In our research, we found that Orthodox Christian communities, religious fasting affected child nutrition. Even though child nutrition up to age 7 are exempted from fasting. So we collaborated with the religious leaders to help clarify what is really allowed. And we felt the drama would give us a chance to model how health extension workers could talk to a priest, how a priest could affect communities, and how a husband could support his family.
We had an introductory phase where we really had some series of meetings with the Alive and Thrive team. So they gave us tips on what the basic or the key message should be in the Alive and Thrive drama. So it gave us a challenge whereby we have really have a very good comic relief, even if it's in one episode. so that the rest of the space is, taken from the message that we wanted to establish and strengths.
One tool we created was a matrix of different behaviors or the barriers mothers face and also motivators to help them change. The matrix then showed how these were linked to our messages.
So for this radio program, what we did, once we identified the key formative researches of key points for the individuals and the behavior, and we converted that to the implication of the behavior of the individual. And to tackle that implication, we also proposed a key message. So that matrix has 3 columns. In the first column, it shows a description of key findings from the formative research. In the middle, it has the implication. And in the third column, it's also proposed key messages.
Alive and Thrive was responsible for sharing the creative brief and the background research. But then Zellerman was in charge of phase 2, which was really an intensive participatory workshop.
In that workshop, it was very interesting by participating all those stakeholders and the key characters or audiences like mother or under 2 children, fathers, religious leaders, ag extension workers, health extension workers, women development army team leaders, and other partners as well. So within those different groups, the storyline was developed.
In phase 3, Zellerman documented all the ideas and the detailed plans produced in the workshop before actually writing the scripts.
And that document covers the whole spectrum of the radio program, with the radio formats from the drama, magazine format, sports, jingle, and vox pops, and they also develop the profile of each characters, what the religious leaders look like, what the mother in Amhara region, how she reacts, or her characters also, her profile also developed. So those all documents, once it's finalized, including the scene, the area, or the village, or the drama.
After we approved the design document, they prepared synopses or summaries of each episode in the first season for us to discuss together.
And then they said, okay, design document is approved. We've looked at the synopsis, it's approved. Go and do your work. And so we went and wrote the scripts, and then there was a few consultations in between, but mostly over email. And then, season 1 was finished. And it was good, I think.
The first 5 or 4 episodes were pre-tested, and based on the pre-test results and feedback, it's revised and started. One thing that I remember during the field test of the first episode, one health extension worker was said, emotionally, she was said, this is the first program that I ever know who acknowledge our efforts.
So season 1 was good, but you know how you feel like you can always do a little better. So for the next season, we introduced a new tool to help bridge the technical and creative side, a message matrix for the entire season. It listed all of our messages, the primary messages and the secondary messages for the different audiences, so we could plan and review and tick them off by episode.
So when the checklist was introduced, to be honest, it wasn't immediately clear to us. Because the messages kept repeating themselves, in our opinion. We were like, wait, how is J different from G? How is H different from, They brought to us sensitivities about these nuances. There's one way to say, have your, complementary food that just informs the audience. And then there's one way that says, I can do this, right? So it empowers your audience. And then there's one way that says, if you do this, if you feed eggs and milk every day, then your child will be smart and strong. So it's showing the outcome of that,
So I would call the introduction of the checklist as a very important part of the process.
in two ways. In the first place, it actually helped us to tighten our message. So in every episode, we make sure there is a specific number of message we have to incorporate.
In each box, there is a key message. We have 4 repetitive key messages and the other supporting messages. So every script, the script writer and even our reviewer was following this checklist by making tick on each box which message is directly linked with which episode and even the frequency.
For example, if there is a fasting season and we didn't have any message during that season, so we'd come up with a new set of messages based on the comments we received.
We also learned from this experience the importance of balancing the didactic and the creative elements. It's really important not to include too many messages.
And there's always tension between the copywriters and the Alive and Thrive team. It's like, here you can add eggs and milk. And it's like, well, we've already said eggs and milk every day 2 times up there.
And also limit the number of messages or the number of key messages I wanted to communicate if I need some space for a creative process. In that way, people would take the message seriously, but as well as they would just tune in because it's also an entertaining drama.
This was a really successful collaboration. And not just because we ended up with a good product which had a good impact, but also because the technical team and the creative team learned so much from each other. That's really what our 4 phases of work were about. Every communication product begins with the creative brief, but then we really focused on sharing all of our research with Zellerman so they could absorb it. Then all our tremendous creativity was based on sharing ideas directly with the target audiences and partners. Then came the challenging process of getting everything down on paper and reviewing together before actual production. And finally, the message checklist helped add some structure to our process.
It was not easy. A lot of work went into it, a lot of research, a lot of experience from Alive and Thrive teams, Zellerman teams went into it. But I think the teams were very dedicated and committed and passionate about the work, and it really showed in the final result.
It's very nice. It's very lovely. It really reflects, the culture. It's not as such, only serious type of, message, delivery. It has also the entertainment. It has, different, characters. So it was well made according to the cultural, context. So it fitted very well, in my opinion.
ከተፈጨ ዱቄት